Hello and welcome. My name is Aiden, and today we'll be going through Qwest. Qwest is a personal knowledge management system that hopes to revolutionize your interaction with information and the way that you bring knowledge into your system and work with it over time. So today, my hope is to give you a brief introduction into the application, give you an idea of why you might use Qwest as opposed to other existing products, what Qwest does differently, and then a tutorial on how to leverage it best for your own purposes. So if you're interested in something like that, stick around because we'll be going all the way through Qwest today and talking through it point by point. Hey there, Aiden from the future here. Just letting you know that while editing this video, I realized that I accidentally cut off the very bottom of the screen. So at some points throughout this tutorial, I may reference a bottom UI that is present, and you'll see it throughout the video in different views, but I wanted to let you know that I accidentally made that little recording mistake. With that said, it should not drastically affect the tutorial, and so I've decided to just move on and work on making Qwest better in the meantime. So in the future, we'll not make that mistake again. Now, back to the video. So with that said, I want to start with just a couple of disclaimers and a quick forward on Qwest so that we're all on the same page. First of all, Qwest is in active development. We are early access, basically an alpha stage application, so it's pretty rough around the edges, and we're making updates every single day to polish the application. With that said, because it's in early access, if you'd like to access it, we have a waitlist available at waitlist.qwest.so, and if you're interested in finding that waitlist, check out the description below where we'll have that URL. With that out of the way, I'd like to go through what Qwest is based on its founding principles. Now, Qwest was founded as the solution of many different problems, but it boils down to three very important core principles. The first one is that retrieval is a primary concern. You should always be able to find the stuff that you're looking for in your knowledge base, so Qwest focuses on the meaning of your notes in order to facilitate that. So you can search your knowledge base and you'll find all of the most relevant notes to your search and all of the closest matches based on the text of the notes as well. You don't have to worry about remembering exactly the wording that you used or the title that you made for that one note that you made a year ago. Instead, you can just easily find all of the information that you're looking for. Additionally, we have other tools to allow you to crawl your entire knowledge base and use Spyglass, one of our tools, to compile a report based on its own findings. So you don't even have to provide a good search query. You can just ask the tool to find certain notes or information from your knowledge base for you, and it will retrieve all of its findings. We'll go through that later, but the idea is that retrieval is absolutely critical to building a knowledge base. When you put something in, you should be able to get it out. And if you can't get it out, or you just never do get it out because it's not something that pops up in your day-to-day, then that is a problem. The next key core principle is that Qwest helps you think better, not less. We automate all of the menial tasks so that you can focus on thinking and building out your knowledge base. We want Qwest to feel like a cognitive exoskeleton, not a crutch. This is especially important in our day and age where artificial intelligence and generative systems are showing early signs of negative impacts on our own thinking. And so for students, researchers, and polymaths who are really interested in retaining information and building their minds, and maybe also taking advantage of technologies like generative AI, it's important to have a tool that doesn't take away the thinking aspect, but does take away all of the meta-analysis and organization, or at least puts it in your control in a much easier format. So what Qwest aims to do is to automate a lot of or at least half automate a lot of these different menial tasks so that you don't have to think about, oh, what kind of connections might I need to make in this particular note. You can think about it, and it's ultimately led by you, but all of the context that you need at any given time is available to you in the window that you're writing in. So we'll go through what that looks like in practice a little bit later, but the idea is that we will automate the menial tasks, we will automate the more tedious organization so that you can build the system that you want to build, so that you can build the knowledge base that you want to build, and you have to focus on thinking, and we focus on making that easier for you. With that said, we also want to take a flexible and expressive organization approach. Organizing your knowledge base should feel intuitive and useful, not rigid and arbitrary, or conforming to one particular philosophy. This is one of the big arguments for using systems like Zettelkasten, or just generally structuring your notes in a flatter structure, and then using things like links or tags more broadly, because as you build out links and tags, you are creating a much more dynamic and fluid and composable organization system. So Qwest, of course, supports tags and connecting different ideas, but also it should feel even easier than that, in that you don't necessarily have to build all of that yourself. Qwest just gives the information to you that you should be able to see at any given time. What are the most related ideas that I have to this particular note that I'm working in currently? That should just be available to you. What are the most relevant tags to whatever I am currently working on? What should I apply? Those will be suggested to you. What can you just give me a brief overview of this idea that I'm looking at, this note that I'm looking at, so that I don't have to read the whole thing just to get the gist. The gist is available to you. And then organizing is a logical extension of that, where certain ideas or certain actions are suggested to you and really easy to take, but never taken without your permission and always with you in control. So as we go through Qwest, hopefully you can see and get an idea of how specifically we are meeting our principles of retrieval, thinking better and not less, and having a flexible and expressive organization. Now, while today we'll be going through workflow processes on desktop, we also aim for a seamless mobile experience, and so Qwest is responsive to multiple screen sizes. That means that while you can use the Qwest app on desktop, and the desktop version is going to be the most featureful since you just have so much more to work with, mobile is also going to be a primary concern for us, as well as tablet. We want to make sure that Qwest feels like a great cross-platform app for you, so that when you put your knowledge into it, you don't have to worry about whether or not you'll be able to access it on your other device. So, with that said, now we can get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of the whole thing. We'll go through logging in and taking a little bit of steps just to get set up, and then we'll go through the actual features. So, Qwest is currently on a waitlist, but soon we will be opening that up. For now though, check out that link below in order to get into the waitlist, at which point we will send you a referral link that you can use to enter the application. Going through that will allow you to create an account, but for now, we'll just log in. As you can see, this is the dashboard. So let me just get rid of me for a second here. We'll go through what all of this stuff means, but I want to just take a second to introduce the new dashboard. We have recently completed, or at least started, a overhaul of the dashboard. Before, if you look at some of our older videos, it was just very, very bland, very, very boring, just a bunch of buttons to do things. Now we have started a widget system where you have a scratch pad, which you can use as a distraction pad. You can clear it often and move all of this information into more permanent locations within your knowledge base. You can also see your most recent rabbit holes. We'll get into what that means later. And then you can see a nice little heat map of all of your different ideas. With that said, You can also suggest a widget if you think that something would be useful. We are looking for all of the feedback that we can get. Additionally, over here on the left sidebar, you can see that we have a feedback button, and pressing that will also bring up this modal where you can submit feedback to us. If you're interested, you can also hit us up at aiden@qwest.so, which will send an email directly to me if you're interested in giving feedback that way. We're looking for all of the feedback we can get, if it's just on the idea, if it's on a specific feature, if it's on specific bug that you found. Let us know. We're trying to make the app as good as possible, and we can't do it without you. So with that said, over here on the right sidebar, you have your profile icon. In here, you have all of your different views and some different actions. So if you can't find a button that is more intuitive to use, that's a good catch-all. We'll go through some additional navigation as we just go through the application. So if you are interested in the roadmap for this particular page, we are going to make this page even better. It's a little rough around the edges as of right now, but your dashboard will also include things like a task list, also include things like random ideas from your knowledge base, and insights as well over time. So this will only get better, and this will reflect your knowledge base, and as you build it, it will get better with you. So with that said, we got some basic buttons here. You can see the time. You can click on this and get more about the time. It's a little late here. You can change between light and dark mode. There's a fully supported light and dark mode in Qwest, of course. You have all of your buttons for managing rabbit holes, going to Spyglass, and creating a new idea or a new rabbit hole directly from that button down there. Additionally, over here on the left, you can see your latest idea as well as all of your most recent ideas. So these are all of my different recent ideas, and this page, like I mentioned, will expand over time, but for now, this is the Qwest dashboard. Now, if you're on desktop, you can press Control and then K, and if you press Control K, then that'll also bring up the Spotlight. So the Spotlight search is a command palette where you can just find all sorts of different actions to do throughout Qwest, so that if you're a little bit keyboard savvy and you're interested in typing out commands, you can use that instead of always clicking buttons and using your mouse. It helps a lot with navigation. Additionally, over here on the right sidebar, depending on the view, sometimes this won't be directly available, but on the right sidebar, we do have a search bar, and like I had mentioned before, you can search based on the text of a note or the semantic meaning of that note, meaning the actual meaning behind that note. And it will allow you to search for anything in your entire knowledge base. With that said, we are working on a new search page, and that'll be out soon, so you can check the dev logs for that. Now, I want to go through the process of creating a new idea, and we're just going to use the Spotlight search here. Well, actually, we'll just use this little button down here since it's much more visually simple to see what I'm doing. I can just click this button, and then I hit New Idea. As you can see, this is a completely blank canvas. It's an untitled idea. We have no gist, we have no tags, we have no connected ideas, and we have no related ideas. So let's start talking over here. Let's say something. Let's say I am working on a tutorial video for Qwest. So let's check that out. Let's refresh these, make sure that they're all good to go. And let's see, what are my most related ideas? Well, I have one here that's called Qwest Introduction and Tutorial. Let me click on that. So the related ideas section will automatically bring forward all of the most related ideas from your entire knowledge base to the current one. And so I can see what are the most related ideas, and I can create connections explicitly. If I hover over the idea, then I can of course see an outline of it, or I can see a preview of that idea's content. I can create a connection with this button here. When I connect this idea, it will pop up in the connected ideas section. So the reason why you might want to connect an idea instead of just using the related ideas portion is because related ideas is dynamic. it will find the most related ideas in your knowledge base based on whatever the content of your current idea actually is. So if you connect an idea, then that is now persistent. That's not going away. And so you can use connected ideas to make sure that you are actually always able to access this content. Additionally, when you go into the Constellation, which we'll get to later, then connected ideas start to make a lot more sense too. Much of building a knowledge base is about building these bidirectional links between different ideas across time, and so connected ideas is the way to do that. With that said, we have additional ideas over here. You can see all of these are related to Qwest. All of these are related to different things that we're doing in Qwest, and so we can actually use this to find even more context that maybe we didn't think about. Over here in the right sidebar, I can find additional ideas. So I'll say, like, maybe I want to find a devlog that I made at one point, and my script on that. So it looks like I have Qwest devlog 2 here. Of course, this still shows up in related ideas, so I didn't really have to run this search, but I can. And then once I have this search, now I can drag this over to connected ideas and connect that one too. So dragging and dropping is the easiest way to connect ideas over from the search bar on desktop. You can just tap the button that will show up on mobile. So a very similar process there. Additionally, we have the Insights tab. Now, this is an area where I would love suggestions on. So if you have ideas of what should go in this Insights tab, I am looking for anything that you have that you can throw out there. What would be useful as an insight to you for us to put in here? Anything that Magic can create. With that said, for now, we can create an overview. So I'm just going to create an overview. Now, the overview isn't going to be that comprehensive. We don't have any real content in here, so we can just look through it. You can see highlight says Qwest tutorial video. Nice. Key points, working on a tutorial for Qwest. Fair enough. Questions, what is the tutorial for Qwest about? That's a good question. So insights are just a very brief gist of everything in your particular idea, and so this can be a good way to just get some at-a-glance information, especially if you're just getting up to speed on something that you haven't seen in a long time. Once you have that, then the gist populates, and the gist is going to just give you that brief at-a-glance, here's what this content actually is. So, of course, for something like this, it's just about as easy and as long to just read the content itself as the gist, but you can imagine that as the content gets pretty big, you want to just immediately know what that's actually about. With that said, the other thing that we have over here on the left sidebar is the tags. Tags will automatically be suggested to you as you add them to your knowledge base. So we have a couple of additional buttons here. If I expand this, you can see that I actually have a bunch of different tags for different purposes. All of these different tags are going to be automatically suggested based on the meaning of the tag. So every tag has a description and every tag has a name. So the tag for Qwest, if I click on Qwest, is ideas relating to Qwest. We'll get to this view a little bit more later, but the idea here is that tags are a way to organize information throughout your knowledge base in a sort of bird's eye view way, and you really shouldn't have to think about which specific tags you want to add. They should just be right there, already available for you to add, because the system already knows what tags are most likely to be applied. With that said, you do apply them manually, so I'm going to apply this tag by hitting the plus button. Now that I've done that, you can see that it changes a little bit, and now this idea is applied. With that said, maybe I don't see a tag here that is relevant, or maybe I would like to add a new tag. So maybe I want to search for a tag directly. Maybe Qwest doesn't pop up, but it should. I can just type this in here, and then because this is already applied and because this is already existing in here, it doesn't pop up. But you can see that I actually have another tag called devlog, which you can also see right here is already suggested, but this has a description which is fitting, which is why it pops up. With that said, you can also add a new tag. Maybe I'll add one called tutorial. This item is a tutorial. And then if I hit create, now that tag is applied as well. We'll get more into how exactly those tags work later, but now we're going to switch over from this tutorial video note that I just created over to the introduction and tutorial, which is where I have the script for this video, so that we can just go through it sort of point by point. So, working with ideas, you can also create an idea from the spotlight. That just looks like Control K as we mentioned. Additionally, if you have the sidebar collapsed, then you can click this button, which will also open up the spotlight. So you can use this on mobile. And if you do that, you can actually hit new idea from here. You don't have to do it this way. You can do it many different ways throughout the application, but that is one of the ways to do it. Now, when you're actually in an idea, formatting is fairly basic. Control B in order to bold, Control I in order to italicize. You can also do things, however, like, let me create a new connected idea, and we'll get into what this means in just a second, but we can just go through some basic formatting. So if I type a slash, then it will give me a bunch of these different formatting options. There will be more of these over time. We are actually planning to largely iterate in this area here, where you'll be able to add all sorts of interesting, rich content to your ideas so that you can capture all of the different ways of thinking that you might use. With that said, for now, we have paragraphs, we have headings, we have bullet lists, we have numbered lists, we have code blocks, we have task lists, we have tables, and then we have YouTube videos. You can add all of those different types of content into your ideas. You can also use a $sign in order to connect an idea. So if I type a $sign and then the name of an idea that I'm looking for, or some excerpt from the content of that idea, then it will suggest all of these different ideas. You can see that I have a lot of notes about Qwest. With that said, if I connect one of these ideas, like maybe let's do Qwest tutorial video from earlier. So maybe I want to filter that a little bit further. Find Qwest tutorial. So Qwest tutorial video, bam. If I link that, then we have that tutorial video from earlier. And that's just available inline. I can hover over this and go to it, or I can see all of these different overviews. Of course, if I go and I just hover over the card here, then I can see the full content, and this gives me just a quick glance of like what is the basic idea of this. And then related ideas pops up as well, but you can see why this would be a fairly capable editor. And we are looking for feedback in this area as well. If you have something that you feel like is missing in the editor, we want to know that. With that said, as you can see, Qwest tutorial and introduction, or Qwest introduction and tutorial, is already connected to this idea. The reason for that is because you can create a connected idea just by hitting this button here. If you click that button, it'll create a new idea and it'll automatically connect it. So if you're ever thinking like, oh, I should create a new note on this, and you don't want to go through the hassle of manually connecting it, then you can just click that button and it'll automatically create a new idea for you that's already connected. With that said, let's get back to this tutorial. So you can link ideas inline, you can use slash commands. Additionally, you can use things like Markdown syntax. So if I go just like up here to the top and I do like a hashtag and then a space, then that'll create a top level header or an H1 depending on how you want to think about it. You can do the same thing with two of these, secondary header or 3. So you can create different level headers. You can also use this menu up here, which will also get better over time, where if you highlight some text, then it'll give you all of your formatting options inline. For example, adding links through the features tab, or you can create a block quote or something like that, or a code block just by hitting that button. So this allows you to use formatting options in a pretty standard way. So I also want to talk about title generation, because as you could see with the Qwest tutorial video, there's a little sparkle next to it. That's because this title was generated automatically. So that's just kind of built in. It's one of those features that just kind of should exist, where if you don't want to come up with a title yourself, then you can just type in some content in your note and then leave, and then Qwest will just automatically come up with a title for you based on that content. That way you can just kind of write something down really quickly and then not have to worry about it until you come back to it later, and then it'll have a meaningful title available for you. Of course, you can title this whatever you'd like. So for example, Qwest tutorial demo idea. So if I do that, then the sparkle goes away. This wasn't auto-generated because I built it myself, or I came up with the title all by myself. I can do the same thing here, basic formatting. But the idea here is that little things like this, where it requires a little bit of cognitive load that maybe you don't feel is very valuable to you in your knowledge building to always be doing, Qwest will just do it for you. So if you have suggestions for little features like this that you'd like automated, that you don't want to have to be doing on a daily basis, just let us know and we'll see about throwing it in there for you. So another consideration is that we now have access controls. Now these aren't anything fancy, but I can actually share ideas with other people who are currently using Qwest. Now, for example, I'll just do this for the sake of testing. I have another email. If I type in the email of the other Qwest user who is currently a Qwest user and then hit share, then it will share that idea with that other account. Now I have this Aiden Testner test account that I am currently sharing this with. Now I can copy the share link and just send that to that other person, or I can just stop sharing entirely. So sharing is completely optional, and if you do share, then the only thing that that other person will be able to see is a view-only version of your idea, which means that they won't be able to edit it by default. Now, later on, we'll add collaborative features and things like editing access control, but for now, that isn't the point of Qwest, or at least it's not the primary focus. So right now, we're working on building a great personal knowledge-based system, and then we're going to work on collaborative features. And we'll keep you guys updated, of course, with the status of that project. So I'm going to stop sharing, and now I'm just going to go over to the Tools tab again. You can delete a note or an idea from here. You can go to the View Only page. You can export it as HTML. You can export it as Markdown, and then you can copy it as Markdown, as text, or as HTML. So you can just take this note and put it in all sorts of formats. Now, if you have a format that you think is missing, please let us know, because we want you to feel that you are in control of your ideas. You're in control of your ideas as far as Qwest is concerned. If you bring all of your ideas to us through the import mechanism that I will show you later, then that's great, and we're very, very happy to have you. But if, unfortunately, you aren't interested in Qwest and you'd like to leave, then we will let you take all of your notes with you, and there will be no hard feelings. So never should you feel that you are trapped in Qwest. You should feel that you are enabled by Qwest, and hopefully you don't want to go anywhere, but in the case that you do, we aren't going to get in your way. With that said, now I want to talk about tags a little bit. You can see I have a note here that says I'm supposed to transition into working with tags, so let's do that. Over here on the left, you can see I already have the Qwest and video tag applied. Let me go over to the Qwest tag. Let me go over to the video tag and see what this looks like. So video is the name of the tag, and then if I look at the description here, this item pertains to a YouTube video I am making. So if you look over here on the left, you can see these suggested ideas. So suggested ideas are all of the ideas that Qwest thinks might want this tag applied to them. So you don't have to go and find the idea to apply the tag to. You can actually just add all of the ideas directly that you think this tag should be applied to from this view here. This will also group all of these different things. So for the sake of demonstration, although I won't be the one making this video, obviously, because it's already a video by somebody else, if I apply the video tag to what are sockets in computer science, then it'll show up here. Additionally, I can do the same mechanic as earlier, where if I type in something like videos, then it finds a bunch of either videos or YouTube videos or whatever it may be. Now I can drag and drop and create connections that way. So this allows you to easily organize your entire knowledge base from a single view instead of having to manually go through and find all of the different things, all of the different ideas and all of the different notes that a given tag might need to be applied to every time that you add a new tag to your system. Instead, you can just do it semantically. You just come in here and based on whatever content you put in your tag, based on whatever description you give it, it'll make it absolutely easy to add those tags. Now, if you go to all tags, then you can find the top level way of adding tags. You can filter this, and you can also just add new tags. So for example, if I want to do tutorial video stuff, this pertains to the Qwest tutorial video. By the way, we're going to make this UI better, because right now it's a little bit clunky in my opinion, but it does work, it is functional. But if I click plus now, then this will add my new tag. Now if I click on this, then I can see all of my ideas that currently have this tag applied, of which there are none. However, there are some that are suggested. So one that is suggested is the Qwest tutorial demo idea that we made earlier. Another one is the second dev vlog from earlier. The other one is basic formatting. So I'll just add that one too, because that one was another one that we created. And then just some other random stuff that we don't necessarily need. Now I'm going to go find that other tutorial and introduction video. And then I'm going to add this in here as well. So now when I go back to the Qwest tutorial and introduction note from before, you can see that that tag is applied. So as far as adding and managing your tags across your knowledge base, it's all suggested to you and it's all easy, because instead of having to manually apply tags, which is an important but ultimately tedious process, especially when you add a new tag to your knowledge base that you've never added before, and now you have to go and try to find all of the content that is relevant to that. Now you can just do that at a top level extremely seamlessly. So it makes tags really, really easy to manage, as opposed to other applications where oftentimes tags are pretty tedious to use, although they are very powerful. So with that said, you can also use tags in what is called a rabbit hole. So rabbit holes are another feature of Qwest that help you go on your knowledge adventure. Knowledge should feel adventurous. Knowledge should feel like something that you go out and gather and that you have a little bit of fun with. It should feel like a journey. So down here, this little rabbit button, if you click new rabbit hole, and you can also do new rabbit hole from the spotlight search, but if I click new rabbit hole, then it will bring me to a new rabbit hole. So I'm going to call this Qwest tutorial videos. So now that I've done that, I'm going to just search for that tutorial video thing from before. And I'm going to drag and drop this from the sidebar into this area here. Now you can see that there are suggested ideas again. Now I can go and find that introduction note that we're referencing, and I can drag and drop that as well. Now you can see that over here the suggested ideas are going to pop up like with tags, so you don't necessarily always have to go and find that. Qwest will suggest things to you proactively. Now I can enter a rabbit hole, and this is where things get really interesting. So the point of a rabbit hole is that once you are in a rabbit hole, any new idea that you add automatically gets added to this rabbit hole. So if I add a new idea and I start typing, hello, I am a new idea, well then, that is going to get added to the rabbit hole. You can see my current rabbit hole when I click on this indicator down here. My current rabbit hole is Qwest tutorial videos. I can exit this rabbit hole, and if I do that, then I'm no longer in the rabbit. Now I'm no longer in that rabbit hole. But if I click on this again and I go up to this door button, then I can enter the rabbit hole directly. Or if I click on this, then it will bring me to the rabbit hole page, at which point I can enter it from here. Or I can just see quickly what all of the different rabbit holes are, or what all of the different ideas applied to the rabbit hole are. You can also add tags. So let me search for the tutorial video stuff tag that we did earlier. Now I can add that as well. And if I add the tutorial video tag, then that will also suggest different ideas based on that tutorial video tag that we added earlier. You can see if I click on this, it brings me to the thing. Now if I enter this rabbit hole again and I go to introduction of a new idea, I can actually remove this from the rabbit hole as well. So if I go to an idea and I don't like that it's in this rabbit hole, then I can remove it from here. But I can also re-include it if I'd like to. Right now, since it is removed, if I go back here, then you can see that there is no longer that same idea as before. But if I come back here and then I include it, then it is now available. So basically, the whole point of a rabbit hole is to be able to add as many different ideas as you want, all of these different sort of scattered in different directions, information gathering, just info dump type ideas into the same place so that you can come back to your rabbit holes later. So you can see I've got all sorts of rabbit holes. I even have one that isn't called anything and another one called unnamed rabbit hole. So I have all sorts of different rabbit holes that I've gone down with Qwest, and it is only going to get better as this feature, and as we add more features, rabbit holes will be a way to constrain all of Qwest functionality to a particular thing. Now, I want to go to our next feature, which is, actually open a new tab for this, which is Spyglass. Spyglass is your answer engine for all of your needs regarding your personal knowledge base. So whereas the search bar is a way to find ideas and search semantically, Spyglass is a way to get an answer based on your knowledge. So let's just ask it something. What is a brief explanation of the value proposition of Qwest? So I'll ask it, what is a brief explanation of the value proposition of Qwest, and we'll see what it does. It's going to start by searching my ideas, then it's going to find resources, after which it is going to go through and read those resources. So it's going to just go through and read all of my different ideas on this particular subject. And then just skipping ahead here a little bit, and now you can see that it will answer my question directly. Rather than just providing a bunch of search results, it will actually give me a citation-based response that allows you to analyze your knowledge base. It will go through and it will find different things, and then based on those, it will answer in a way which is actually relevant to what you're saying. So you can ask it whatever you'd like about your knowledge. So for example, I asked it, what is a brief explanation of the value proposition of Qwest? I got this in return. Qwest value proposition is to empower individuals to fundamentally change their worldview through seamless knowledge interaction, acting as an active partner to strengthen the user's primary brain rather than causing atrophy. Now, we won't read all of this, but it did find this information, and it found it directly from my ideas. So, for example, if I hover over this one citation, this is from a founders meeting, where we talked about the fact that we wanted to empower people to fundamentally change their worldview, which is the whole point of learning. You want to change the world model that you have in a way which is beneficial in order to decrease your prediction error rate. So, with that said, there's also an analysis of every single citation that is found by the model, which then builds up to this greater response that it gives you. So you can see exactly why it thought that each of these things was important. And if you just want to see that information, you can go and view all of the findings, which will show you all of the different notes that it analyzed and where it found things. For example, if I look at how Qwest brings value to users, we can take a look at what it found. Qwest core principles revolve around seamless knowledge interaction, adding, updating, and retrieving, strengthening the user's primary brain as an active partner, providing simple yet flexible foundation, emphasizing semantic meaning over explicit text content, and enabling users to control their information diet. So this is all stuff that it found in a note of mine on how Qwest should bring value to users. And as you can see, it has multiple different findings from the same thing. Tells me exactly why it found those things, and then that all builds up to a big response. So, with that said, let's get back to what we were talking about before. The idea of Spyglass is to be for deeper analysis, and it's always rooted in your own knowledge and ideas. It's your answer engine, like Perplexity, but on your own knowledge base. This allows you to really cast a wide net and get a specific result and get a specific response, and that allows you to do analysis like, for example, what are all of my metaphors about this particular thing? Do a comparative analysis on my different writing styles across multiple notes, etc., etc. We'd love to know how you're using Spyglass as well. If you are interested in telling us, give us feedback through that feedback button and tell us how you're using it. That will allow us to optimize Qwest and Spyglass specifically for your use cases. With that said, now I want to get on to sort of the whole point of connecting ideas in the first place and building up these bidirectional links between ideas. And it's not necessarily the point, but this is kind of what it looks like when you take all of this and you build it out into a bit of a map. So this is my constellation, and every Qwest user gets a constellation. This is very similar to graph views in other applications. However, this is going to include other things as well. That as you build your knowledge base, all of the information from your knowledge base will show up here, as well as the connections that you build. As you can see my knowledge base start to emerge. It is very much centered around Qwest. Qwest has a very, very high degree centrality, as you can see here. That essentially means that you can visualize the connections between all of your ideas. Now, granted, the constellation needs some work, and this is a big area for future development for us. As we build out Qwest, we want you to be able to use the constellation to really see those deeper connections between things, but also to see things like, where are all of the orphans in my knowledge base? These are all ideas that have no connections yet. And if the idea is to build connections between all of your different ideas, then this allows you to just go and see that. Now, where traditional graph views have worked before at allowing you to see all of your orphaned ideas and then go in and make those connections, it's never been as easy as it is with Qwest. Because if I go over to, for example, growth engines and collaboration, this doesn't have any connected ideas, but it's as simple as adding one over from the UI. It already knows what all of the most related ideas are, so it's up to me to then make those explicit connections and really build out my knowledge base explicitly. So the idea is to have your constellation build over time, and while this is a very visual tool and might not be the primary mode that you will always use Qwest in, you can see the progression of your knowledge base over time. Now, I'll tell you why I have so many different orphan notes. It's because I actually imported all of these. Importing notes is something that you can do in Qwest from the settings. Now, settings has other stuff as well. You can see all your tags, for example, or you can change your password and such. You can also change the color scheme from here. Warning to all of those who are currently not touching grass and don't want light mode. This is what light mode looks like. You can change it from here. We also can change the body font. So if you're into a serif font, then you can switch between those. You can also, of course, change these between with the spotlight search. So you don't always have to come to the settings page. You can also change the font. I personally like the serif font a lot, but we only have a default theme for now. Later on, we'll have more themes. You can see a quick little preview of what it actually looks like. And then over here, you can see your import ideas. You can also see your Spyglass history, by the way, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. You can import ideas. You can import an entire text file, an entire Markdown file, or an entire folder of text or Markdown files into Qwest, and then it'll automatically add all of them to your knowledge base. So this is what I did in order to get my knowledge base over from Obsidian and bring all of my constellation into view. So as you build out your constellation, it'll all be available here. You can add your ideas from your personal knowledge base into Qwest and let us know what you think. Now, before we get too far, I am going to do a quick little search here because I want to find that Qwest introduction video from before. As you can see, as you search, your graph will actually filter, so you can go and kind of find different clusters. All of these pop up, many of them don't, but because Qwest introduction and tutorial is similar or relevant to all of these different ideas, all of them still show up. But I'm going to go back here and I want to talk a little bit about the roadmap. So Qwest roadmap is very, very long and out into hopefully the distant future. But with that said, there are a couple of things that we are really trying to do in the short term. So one thing that we are adding here soon is the ability to not just write and curate and organize, but also to discover and ingest information from other sources. So you'll be able to upload your own files, you'll be able to upload your own sources from the internet, and you'll be able to then integrate those into your own knowledge base. The idea there being that there is a clear separation between information from an external source and your own information. This allows you to really ingest information and then reflect on it. And then it also allows Qwest to see the different ways that you could grow and that you are actively trying to grow, and then help facilitate that. Additionally, we are adding learning features, and like I mentioned, this whole Insights tab over here on the left will also be getting better, and a lot of it will just come down to polishing existing features. Right now, like I mentioned, we are in early access. We are in a sort of alpha phase, but as we move towards a more polished version of the application, as we move towards maybe paid plans and things like that, at that point we're going to be adding some very cool features that are on the horizon, and we'll be bringing those to your attention soon. If you're interested in consistent updates and regular maybe not regular, to be honest, I'm actually pretty irregular about these updates, but if you're interested in consistent updates about the progression of Qwest, you can always check out the updates page, or you can go to this YouTube channel and you'll see dev vlogs here. So if you go to the update page, then this will just give sort of chronological updates on things that we've added to Qwest, things that we've made better, and what we're currently working on, and then what we're going to be working on next. But also, devlogs here will be a little bit more candid, and we'll talk about things that we've learned, or directions that we're taking, or reasons why we're doing things, or reasons why we're not doing things, and just kind of build a little bit more in public this application that we're hoping is the best knowledge base application available. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. And if you're still here, then I really hope that you check out that waitlist, because we'd love to have you. With that said, have a great rest of your evening, morning, night, day, whatever it may be. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.